I worked the very first Chinese economic espionage case in the US. It was a huge deal on what they were stealing. It was pretty awesome.
What were they stealing?
It's called quiet electric drive. What it does is it makes submarines and ships quiet. It's actually really important. They were shipping it back to China. They had been in the US 28 years. So we sent them on a vacation. We made them think that they won a cruise to Alaska. Him and his wife, and then we broke into their house. We got what's called a surreptitious entry warrant, where you can break in when someone's not there. And we put in listening devices, videos, all the things. And that's actually not how we caught them. We caught them, so I used to have to do dumpster dives, like go in the back of trash. And we caught them from their trash.
What was it?
It was a tasking note from his handler in China telling him what to steal. The idiot,
wow. Right? My name is Derek Wolf. I'm a Super Bowl champion and a 10-year NFL vet. Now, after a decade of professional football, I'm focusing on my other passions. Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Wolf Untamed. Today's guest is Tracy Walder. Tracy was a CIA officer. She worked in 9 different countries collecting counterterrorism information for the CIA. And then she joined the FBI immediately after in the LA department. Now she's on TV, works for News Nation, does a lot of speeches, some stuff for the History Channel, Discovery. This is a really good episode. Super humble woman, incredible stories. Hope you enjoy it. Well, Tracy, thank you for taking the time. I really appreciate it. I was actually really looking forward to this one because of all the stuff that's going on with the inauguration coming in. We got Trump coming in. We've got all the border stuff, and then we have all the, like, now that the cartel is labeled a terrorist group. I was interested to get your take on that. And then I know you worked in the FBI. You worked for the special agent FBI department. Sorry, I don't know. I'm screwing this up. I'm hacking it, but you were based in LA. So I wanted to get your perspective on that. So I'm just going to go back to the beginning. And the first question I want to ask you is, what led you into the intelligence community? What pushed you into that?
Well, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to have the opportunity to talk. So nothing really. And let me explain why. So I'm old. I grew up in a time, this is a pre 9/11 world, right? So I think we kind of have to orient ourselves to that. And so I don't even think I don't want to say I didn't know what terrorism was. It just wasn't like a thing for me. Terrorism for me was like the Oklahoma City bombing. If anybody remembers that, like that was my version of terrorism. Like Al-Qaeda was super new, all the things, like there wasn't Homeland, Criminal, none of those shows existed. We didn't have the exposure, I guess, that people do today. And so
there's a 20-year war against terrorism. So, people have literally grown up in it.
100%. And I did it, right? So this was the mid 90s, so this was pre that war. But I think it was 1997. I remember the year I was working out in my sorority house and I was watching CNN, and there was these 2 guys interviewing a dude in a cave, and his name was Osama bin Laden. This was the only interview that bin Laden did with like a Western news source, right? So we were exposed to him, and he issued his declaration of war against the US then. And I started to get interested in like, what is this, right? Like who are these people? What do they want, right? Like, what is all of this? But there weren't, at the college I went to at the time, there was no like terrorism majors, because again, not a thing.
Right.
But I started to figure out like, where can I apply this degree? And I went to a career fair at my college.
What was your degree in, and where'd you go to school?
Yeah, my degree was history. I wanted to be a high school history teacher. So super random. Yeah. And I went to a career fair. I asked them if they did this counterterrorism thing. They said yes. And truly the rest is history. It's not that crazy of a story.
It's not like some crazy event happened. It was just like,
no,
I don't know. I mean, it's kind of cool that, you saw bin Laden on TV and you were like, oh, this is something I could see myself. But like, that's crazy. That's weird though. So what made you, I love history too, but I just can't imagine myself being like, oh, I want to be a history teacher. And then, one day I'm like, you know what? I'm going to join the CIA. That's just totally, it's total opposites to me. So what led you to that? Like what led you to like, what was the determining factor? Where you're like, you know what, that's what I want to do. Was there like, or was it just like, you know what, this seems interesting, I'm going to check it out?
Seriously, that is a great question. And I wish I had like an answer, right? Like a really definitive answer for you. But I sadly don't. I think it was just more of a thing. It's not that I didn't want to be a teacher. I think at 21, I wasn't ready to like settle into that career yet. And I wanted to do more.
Yeah.
And I think this sounded like a cool opportunity and a way to serve my country. I mean, my dad is a vet, my uncle is a vet, both my grandpas are veterans. And I think it seemed like a way to serve my country. And I think that's where it got me to.
Yeah, I mean, that makes sense. When people talk about their grandparents and their fathers and their mothers and stuff when they served, it's kind of like a natural fit for you to like, and you get to experience the world, right? You get to see the world, you know, and you served all over the place.
Yeah.
You know, so you got to see the world really. And what better for a history teacher than to go see the world, right? And experience the world, to teach world history, you know? So I think it's important you to have been to those places before you start talking about them, right?
Exactly. I always said, you know, like this experience will make me a better teacher, right?
Yeah.
You know, because I experienced it at hands on. So you're spot on with that for sure.
So how did you get like into the CIA? Like, how did you just like get in there, you know, like what was,
yeah.
Cause I feel like, I don't know. Cause I'm naive to it because I'm like, you know, I was born in 1990. So, but like all the TV shows that I ever saw about the CIA was like, you had to be
right.
It was like some Harvard kid, you know, getting recruited and like signed up. Like, I didn't know you could just like sign up for the CIA. You know?
Well, I mean, I didn't like sign up, right? You know, I had to apply and give them my resume, but you know, it's in a way like what you just mentioned. So I was born in 1978, right? I'm 46. And so maybe it was good that I had no preconceived notions, right? Like I had none of that exposure that you did to like what it should be. And so I think I just never thought I couldn't, right? Like I didn't think I had to be a Harvard person. I had no exposure. And so for me, I had good grades. My dad was a professor at the college I went to. So like I had to keep good grades to keep my free tuition. So that was incentive. And I'm sure that helped me obviously get the job, like clearly, but you go through a really rigorous background check, you know, and it wasn't fun. It took me probably 8 months, but again, I was only 21. So I didn't have a lot of, I guess, skeletons in my closet.
And there wasn't a lot of, there was no social media back then.
Zero, right? No, you're totally right. So no social media, none of that like deep dive that people would have needed to do, right? Like today.
Yeah, the internet was like just becoming a thing.
Yes, I'm not that old, but yes.
I mean, I remember I was, 7, 8 years old. I remember people talking about the internet and I was like, what? I'm just going to go ride my bike, play football.
Exactly.
It's funny. I want to give you a quick little backstory because I love history. Like it's my favorite. I still to this day, like love history. It was my favorite thing in school. It's like what kept me going in school was gym class and history because those are the only thing I was just so interested in, especially like in the world wars. And then I loved like learning about ancient Rome and all that. I just loved that, and learning about old like warrior cultures and stuff like that. I don't know. I loved it. So, but for me, this is my introduction to the CIA. So my senior year, I had a topics of the 60s class and the entire class. So my teacher was like a conspiracy theorist, And I was convinced that the CIA had killed JFK because of all of the information
coming out soon.
I know. Yeah. And I was like, holy, because like everything that he said made sense about how there's no way that this guy made that shot from up at like he was like showing us.
I disagree. I took the shot. I actually took that exact shot with the same gun at that angle, and it's easy to make.
Well, yeah, but his head would have went the other way, though. Don't you think?
I don't know.
He kept running the film back to me. He's like, doesn't it seem odd that there was a guy up here on the grassy knoll and there was all this other stuff? And I was like, wow. I mean, we did like a whole semester on the JFK assassination, then like the RFK stuff. Like he went through all of it. Then we started learning about Manchurian candidates, and we started learning about like all of what is the mind control one? MK Ultra. Yeah. He told us about MK Ultra. So it was great. I just like immediately got red pilled, I was like, they're trying to control our minds, and it's just like, it was so crazy. He like introduced me, but I loved it. He didn't like, force you to believe a certain thing, but he would just put all these facts in front of us. And I was like, oh, the CIA can literally kill anybody they want. So I was just like scared of the CIA now.
We're not that scared, but I think that's really cool. He got you like interested in it from that point of view. I like that. That's really, really cool.
Yeah, it was really cool. And if football didn't work out for me, my plan was to do like a Navy SEAL special forces type of route. And then I was gonna, because I just loved was obsessed with like military and especially the special forces. Like I just was obsessed with that. And it was like my second, I'm a bow hunter and everything. So I just like loved that type of, I don't know. I don't even know how to explain it. It's just something that felt like I was drawn to it. And then I was like, oh, maybe I could be join the CIA or the FBI or something when I'm done, and that was kind of like the path I was going to take if football didn't work. Cause I just never saw myself as like a normal 9-to-5 guy, just working a normal job. Like I just not built for that. And I don't do well with like normal people, it just doesn't work great for me. So I just wanted to give you a little backstory on like how I was like, so I am like so interested in it. That's why I'm excited to talk to you because it's, I love listening to Sean Ryan and all the stuff that he pulls up so it's just, I'm really happy to have you on. So, and I'm really excited to get going and stop talking about myself now. So let's,
no, I love it. I'm a huge football fan. So that's.
Oh, awesome. Who's your team?
All right. So here's the thing. We're big college people. USC's. I went to USC. My dad
you went to USC?
Yeah.
Okay. Are you from California?
Yeah.
Okay, cool.
I don't live there now. I live in Dallas, but yeah.
A much better place to live, probably.
Oh, we love it here. It's awesome.
Yeah. So USC, I mean, haven't been great, very, very good lately, but
and now
I went to Cincinnati. So I went to the University of Cincinnati.
Okay.
So it's not like I went to some crazy big school or anything, but my roommates were Travis and Jason Kelsey. We all lived together and played together and everything. So it's pretty cool to see what they've gone and done.
To see where they've gone. Yeah.
Well, our house alone has like 6 Super Bowls now, because Jason's got one, I got one, and Travis is going to have 4.
Wow. Are you serious?
Yeah.
Wow. That's
pretty crazy. Yeah.
That's
pretty
a lot.
wild. And we were idiots. Like we were so dumb. It was just meathead football house,
There is nothing wrong with that.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's what you're supposed to do. It's supposed to be that way.
Exactly. That's college. That's what it's for.
But it was like a real life Animal House. The doors didn't lock. It was out of control. We just would kick each other's doors in. No door lock, no doorknobs on the door. It was just stupid. Hey guys, I want to talk to you about one of my favorite sponsors, Juniper Mountain Coffee. Coffee without compromise. You're getting high quality coffee without the high prices. This is an American company that stands behind their values. They stand behind their coffee. These guys make some of the best coffee I've ever had. It's a coffee I drink every morning. Juniper Mountain Coffee works directly with the farmers, paying fair wages, and that way you have no middleman. There's no BS, no garbage. You're getting high quality products. So go check them out at junipermountaincoffee.com. Okay, so let's get back on track here. The ADHD kicked in. So let's get back on track and let's talk about. So you finally you had to get accepted, right? Like you had to pass all the backgrounds and
yeah.
And how did you start? Where was your like starting position with the CIA?
So at CIA, you probably may know this about like government agencies. You don't get to like pick where you go once you get in, right? Like they put you in a place and then you sort of like figure it out. And I actually got really lucky. They put me in the counterterrorism center. No one wanted to work counterterrorism. Like at that time, again, this is like a pre-2001 world, right? Like the big issue was Russia, because Russia's always going to Russia, and then Latin America. There was a lot going on with like counter narcotics and coup d'etats and all that stuff there. And so the kind of
down in Colombia,
100%, Colombia, Nicaragua, Panama, like that whole area. And so the new people got put in the counterterrorism center. Like that's where I got put pre 9/11. And so, and then I got put working in the Directorate of Operations. So we're the folks that we're not analysts. I was underqualified to be an analyst, but we're the ones that go overseas and like recruit human assets. And so that's where I was put. And
that's
where I stayed.
I bet you'd love that because you get to go experience the culture.
Yeah.
Right.
It was awesome.
So how long until you did your first mission,
So that was the problem, is that September 11th happened. Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Okay.
So the problem was is everyone that was in the counterterrorism center was treated differently after September 11th because we couldn't be gone for 2 years at a time. They needed us to be like nimble, to be deploying out like every 3 months, every 5 months, every 6 months, right? And so that's kind of like how it was working at the time. But my first thing, to be honest with you, because before you go to training, you work at headquarters. And my first thing actually was on the week before September 11th. I was read into a very, at that time, classified program. And I was the first person to use that program after September 11th, which was, I guess, like being at the forefront of history, right? Being able to do that, being the first person to do that. So that was a lot. But then obviously I started deploying out overseas once 9/11 happened.
So did you have to do like weapons training
Yes, of course.
and all and like hand-to-hand combat training, like any of that stuff?
So that's more FBI at CIA, because you have to remember, CIA is an intelligence gathering
Right.
organization, right? And so what you're doing there are learning how to do SDRs, like surveillance detection routes. Are you being surveilled? Learning, I have a chapter in my book where I talk about crash and bang. So learning how to crash a car and like still survive. Like that kind of stuff is more what your training is about there. I would say it's more of like a mental game, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Whereas at Quantico, when I trained at Quantico to be a special agent, that was probably more like what you're talking about with the physical hand-to-hand combat, right? Like all of that. So it's
Yeah.
kind of two separate things, if that makes any
No,
sense.
it does make sense. Because I was thinking about you're in compromised positions
Mhm,
when you're over, you're in a foreign country.
mhm.
Yeah, I'm sure that you have like backup and everything, but it's still like,
No,
you
you
gotta,
definitely
kn-
don't have backup because the
you gotta be
problem
able to
is,
defend yourself, right?
right. So you don't have backup because if you have backup, then everyone's going to know that you have backup, right? It's
Yeah, it's
like
suspicious. It's
it's
super
to be
suspicious if
covert.
you have a big van following you around.
Correct. It's to be covert, but depending on where you're deployed, you are armed. It just depends on where you are. If you're in Denmark, no, right? Because it's not typically dangerous. But if you're in Afghanistan or Africa or other places in the Middle East, yes. So it depends. Whereas with the FBI, you are a sworn law enforcement officer, so you're always carrying, right? Those are
Yeah.
kind of two different things.
But I'm sure like it's also like whatever. Are you wearing the native dress wherever you go to?
Yeah, so that's a question I get a lot because obviously I'm 5'6", tall, slender, blonde chick with green eyes. Like I clearly stick. I'm aware of that about myself. Um, but it depends on where you are, right? Like in Afghanistan, it's very easy to blend in because you just put on a burqa and like literally no one knows who's under there, right? Like it covers your whole face. But if you're in, say, Jordan, you might just have a hijab on, which just covers, they're still going to see my face. And so in that sense, it's not that I stuck out because there's a whole variety of reasons why an American might be in those countries other than CIA, if that makes sense. So you
Yeah.
deal with cover and all those kinds of things. And most people in the world actually speak English, and most of the terrorists spoke English, which is obviously disturbing.
Yeah. It's extreme. I mean, it makes sense why they would.
100%.
You
Yes.
should probably know the language of your enemy.
That's
If
what they
that's your
actually told
enemy
me
and they've
when I
been
talked to them.
bred into their young brains as children that America and Israel are the enemies. So
Mhm.
I saw something the other day about, how there's like, they go to like a first or second grade classroom and these kids are like, yeah, we have to kill America. And we're like, it's like, what? You're
It was
teaching them at
really
that age?
it
It's
was really
insane.
weird because I'm also Jewish.
Oh, wow.
Right. So we have that on top of it. And so I'd be talking with terrorists, and I use talking in air quotes because I really can't say more than that. But I would be having conversations with terrorists, and they would tell me how much they wanted to kill Jews or wanted to kill Americans. And so it's really hard, obviously, to listen to that, right? Being a Jew, but I mean, I did, obviously. But yes, they all told me that they learned to speak English when they were very, very young. So yeah, you're right.
That's scary, man. That's real
Mhm.
scary. All right. So how quick, I mean, you rose through the ranks pretty quick. I mean, you're highly decorated. So, I mean, how quick, I mean, what was like can you like, I want to hear about your first mission, and then I want to hear about your most extreme mission. Like something that was just so like high stakes and high adrenaline, high anxiety. I know you can't get deep into them,
I'm just trying
but
to think so.
I want to hear I love stories. I'm a history guy. I love stories.
I know. But so many of them are classified, right? So I'm like trying to figure out, that's the hard part, is people want stories, right? And I can definitely
can't tell them yet.
I can give you FBI stories, and I can give you a few, CIA stories, but it sucks at CIA because most people only know about our failures, right? Not about our successes. And that's the hard part, right? That's the really hard part. But I think for me, obviously the most dangerous probably time was when I was in Afghanistan, of course, because we have to remember it was like right after 9/11. So it was a very precarious time.
Well, yeah, you're American and Jewish. That's pretty dangerous.
Well, I can hide the fact I'm Jewish unless I tell them they don't know. But yes. And we don't live in the military compounds because we're not military, right? So we don't have that protection.
So where are you living?
I can't really say, but
in like mud houses and stuff? Are you living like in villages, or are you living in like highly populated areas?
I would say it's an area set aside for us.
Okay. All right. That makes sense. I'm sorry.
I
don't. You have to do what you got to do. I get it. I'm just like, I'm going to keep asking questions until you're allowed to answer it. That's it. So don't feel bad. I'm not offended at all. Okay, not at all. It's really hard to offend me. Believe me. Okay. Yeah. But so you're staying in areas that are designated for the CIA, right? And how do they keep that a secret from the people? Like, how do the people that live there not know that that's CIA? Or do they know that?
I don't know. I think they must have known something was going on there, right? Because you've got a bunch of white people in the, clearly they knew, right, that are not military, right? So it's not, I don't think it's a mystery that something's going on there. And I think in a way that probably made us pretty vulnerable, right? So, which is weird, but at the time I didn't think of us as being vulnerable, but we were pretty vulnerable if you think about it, because we weren't in this like military compound. If anyone's seen the movie like Zero Dark 30, I don't know if you've seen that, but if people have seen that, so that was my boss who was killed in that movie. All like really happened. And so when the car is like driving into that compound, that's pretty much what it looks like. And so that was pretty similar, I think, to what we would have experienced. And so they had to have known we were there. I'm guessing because America was just entering right at that time, we were sending in troops for Operation Enduring Freedom and all of that. I think there was a sense of leaving us alone, because we were there trying to help.
Yeah. And so you're gathering intelligence you're gathering all this intelligence, and then that intelligence is now passed down to like special operations, special forces guys, and those groups, and then they go and they do their thing, right?
No. So that's military intelligence. That's what the military would do. I think, for CIA, we would gather intelligence, and then that goes to collection management officers who write that into reports. It goes to analysts too, who analyze all of that intelligence, and then they take it, and typically our intelligence is used to actually inform policy of the United States. And so it's then sent to the president typically, or to the national security, community as a whole to inform policy, we're not necessarily making, we do make targeting decisions. Sometimes it just depends on what we're doing. But it's not typically being sent to military special forces.
So it's being sent to the top brass.
Typically.
Right. And then they can do what they want with it.
Right. Not always. Like, for example, the program that I first worked before I deployed out, we actually were making decisions about who to kill, when to kill them, and how to kill them. And so that we were working with the Air Force on and doing. So obviously that's like one subset. But then there's the other stuff that we were doing in terms of collecting human intelligence, which a lot of that was, how do we stop the next attack, right? Because we thought we were under attack still, right? Like at that time. And so how do we stop this? How do we stop this? Let's get information. That was like the big push.
Yeah. It's just get as much intelligence as possible. Which makes total sense. So what is Give me like the most difficult part of like gathering information on the ground. What is the most difficult part?
So I think in a country like in Afghanistan, for example, right, it's difficult because everything is very clannish and very familial. Here in America, we're not really structured like that,
Yeah, it's
right?
tribal there,
It's
right?
very tribal, and getting people to trust you, right? Getting people to give you information. You're asking them to turn on like their best friend, which is very different than if you go to like a European country and are trying to recruit an asset. I don't know that people have those kinds of allegiances, right? I don't think they care. Whereas in Afghanistan, that is a really tough place to operate from an intelligence perspective, particularly with humans, because first of all, you can't like ingratiate yourself into them because you don't fit in, and you won't fit in. You're not part of their family, right? Like
Right.
there's no way around that, like at all. Because the way we recruit is by building commonalities, not by building acrimonious relationships. You want to build actually common relationships. But how do you find something in common with someone who is very, it's very tribal and very clannish? It's very, very hard in a place like Afghanistan, in my opinion.
And this is, it's funny. You know who Scott Mann is?
Yes.
So I just talked to Scott last week, last week. And, we were talking about the same thing, about the hardest part is gaining trust.
Mm-hmm.
And
100%.
you're trying to gain trust. He said the best way to do it was to find something that you can relate on.
100%.
And I told him, I said, it's like like a football, an NFL locker room is full of so many different, we're from all over the country, different beliefs and all kinds, like, but we all have one common goal. So, and it was like the way that we relate is on silly things, right? So like he lived on he talked about like working tobacco farms and stuff like that. And then those people could relate to that.
Mm-hmm.
And eventually, gain their friendship. And then once you gain friendship, then you can gain trust. So was that kind of the same move?
I completely agree with him. It's all about finding that common ground, right? It's all about how we can help them, be successful and gain that trust. Yeah, I totally agree with him.
So was there any like community building, like helping them with schools or helping
Yes.
like,
oh yes,
like a lot of that?
Of course. I actually have in my home artwork that I purchased from, we would build art schools like for the girls in Afghanistan, to help give them a life because they didn't have really any freedom. They now don't anymore. And so I purchased, some artwork that they had created in some of those schools, and I still have it here.
Yeah, that's really sad because think about all the trust that was built and now just gone.
100%.
Because I mean, you have 20 years of like relationships being built over there. And then we just leave.
Back to the way it was.
And now it's all back. Now we're paying the enemy.
And we have a new terrorist group there now too, ISIS-K. So
ISIS-K. That sounds like a bad drug.
probably is.
Yeah. So how long did you do that for? What was like, how long were you over there? I mean, how long would you stay over there? Like, do they treat it like a deployment or is it like?
Yeah. I mean, it was like 2 or 3 months at a time, depending on where I was and what I was doing and what was going on in the world.
Can you tell me how many different countries you were in?
9.
9 different countries? Mm-hmm. And you would spend 2 to 3 months in each of those places?
No, some were longer, right? Some were 5 months, 6 months, right? And then others were 2 months. It depended. I'm sorry. Yeah. My time was weird because of where I was, what I was doing, and what happened, right? So it's just different.
Well, whatever, you stay till the job's done or type of deal, or like, is it like that?
I think it depended. Like in Afghanistan, we were rotated in and out on purpose because it was very stressful. Like, and so we were purposely like brought home, not because we were bad or anything like that, but because like they just put us on this like rotation, I guess.
Because you need a break from that, right? Yeah. Was it difficult to get back into it? Like when you'd come home and then go back, was it like difficult to get back into that mindset or?
No, not for me.
Did you see people struggle with that?
Yeah. I mean, look, I have PTSD for sure because of like the things that I saw and the things that I did. And I'm not proud of every single thing that I did, of course. And yeah, unfortunately at CIA, alcohol, consumption rates are really, really high. Divorce is really, really high, right? All those things are really, really high. For me, I did not get into that like as much. I don't really know why. I guess I'm the person that if I was stressed, I would work out. Like that's how I dealt with my stress level, was working out like crazy. But um there really isn't, because we're not considered veterans when we leave, right? Like no matter what we did, we're not considered veterans. So we do not get like mental health covered. And so that was
And
a
there's not a
huge.
lot of nonprofits for CIA officers.
No, but I was really proud of myself. So about 2 years ago, I live in Texas, and my senator, John Cornyn, was the head of the Senate Intelligence Committee. And so I was really mad one day at the way that, formers were treated. And I sort of like rage tweeted him. And he actually emailed me back. And we ended up having a really good discussion. And he passed a $10 million bill for mental health for CIA former employees, which I was.
That's good.
Yeah,
Well,
I was.
see, look, I mean, you just closed mouths don't get fed, right?
I guess not. Yeah.
You got to speak up. That's great. I want to talk about I know you can't talk a lot about details and stuff, but I want to talk about the country. Like, what was your favorite country to go to? Like, where you were like, man, this place is incredible. I know they all have their allure. Like, I know Afghanistan's like the mountains are beautiful there. I've heard that's just what other veterans have told. I've never seen it, so I don't know, but they've told me how beautiful the mountains are there.
My favorite country was Jordan.
So did you go, sorry, it's like one of the wonders of the world there.
Petra?
Yeah. So what was that like?
I did not go to Petra.
Oh,
because we're working. Like I can't just be like, excuse me, I want to go. I did do a little sightseeing. It was weird because I did go to a place called Mount Nebo, which is where Moses looked out and saw the promised land of Israel, like that story in the Bible.
Yeah.
And so I actually went there and looked out to Israel. And being Jewish, I've never been to Israel. We weren't allowed to go when I was at the agency. They don't allow Jews to go.
What?
It's not because they're anti-Semitic in any way, shape, or form. It's because Mossad is truly the best at what they do. And when they find out that you're Jewish, they will absolutely try to recruit you to come and like work and spy on your country.
Oh, okay.
Which I totally get. I'm not upset about it, but it was just, I would have liked to have, gone there. But Jordan, I liked Jordan the best, although I'm sure, people may disagree with me or whatever. But I liked Jordan.
I've heard, you're not the first person to tell me that. I've heard it's beautiful there. I've heard the history is really cool. Like,
yeah,
everything is great. You were in Denmark and Sweden, right?
Yeah.
What was that? What was it like there?
I mean, very normal, right? Like,
just
I don't know any
normal.
other way to explain that. Just, it's a European country.
Just like every other country in Europe, just super normal.
Super normal.
Makes sense. I never been there. So I just was curious.
It's beautiful. I mean, highly recommend going. It's just Jordan was my favorite.
Yeah. A lot of history there. I mean,
a lot of history. I thought the people were amazing. I don't know. They're very good friends and allies to us, in terms of the intelligence world. And I just like them.
Do you stay in contact with any of your, I don't want details on it. I just wanted to know if you do stay in contact with any of your, what would you call them? Your sources?
Oh, no, definitely not. That would probably be against the law.
You think so?
I would imagine so.
Probably.
Yes.
It's probably not safe.
Correct.
To be just text messaging with.
And the last thing I'd want to do is put anyone in danger like that. So, yeah, no.
So how many years were you in the CIA?
6.
6 years.
Mm-hmm.
So what made you decide to like move from CIA did you go straight to the FBI after that? Mm-hmm. What made you want to make that move?
I was very tired of being overseas, to be honest with you. I was just tired. I loved my job. I loved my boss. Friends from the agency were bridesmaids in my wedding. So I had I didn't leave because I hated it. Let's put it that way. I just know the CIA is about collecting intelligence overseas, right? Like that's their mission. And I knew I didn't want to be overseas anymore. I'm not going to change the agency from, doing what they're doing. So I still wanted to do it, but I thought, okay, let's be here in the US. And so I left on a Friday. I started Quantico on Monday.
Oh, really? That quick?
Mm-hmm. Well, I've been going through the interview process, like CIA.
And were you married at that point already? No? So you were still single and you were like, because I was wondering if maybe, wanted to settle down, but you don't want to settle down when you just go join the FBI.
I was so young.
away.
I started at 21. Like, you know, I wasn't.
Yeah, you're still in your 20s.
Yeah.
Getting out of the CIA.
Yeah.
That's crazy to think about how much experience you had in 6 years.
Yeah.
Because like, I'm just sorry, I'm looking right here. So what, in 6 years, you were in how many different countries? Let's see.
9.
9 different countries operating. That's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
To think that this girl that wanted to be a history teacher is now a woman that's been all over the world collecting intelligence on terrorism. That's crazy to me and awesome at the same time.
Thank you. I don't really see myself that way, but
Well, because it was a job.
yeah, it was
right?
it was a job. Yeah.
It was you're just doing the job. And I get it. And so I get it. I understand why you don't see it that way, but I think you're a hero. That's awesome to me.
Thank you so much. It's so nice.
All right, guys, I want to talk to you about a product that I've been using for a long time, over a decade. When I was playing football, one of my main staples in my diet was bison. I got my bison from Great Range Premium Bison. They make some of the finest cuts of bison you can get. These guys have ribeyes, ground bison, all the steaks that you want. My favorite part about Great Range is that you don't have to worry about antibiotics or growth hormones in their meats. Great Range Premium Bison is a family-owned company providing bison meat from family-owned ranches around the country. So please go check out greatrangebison.com. So you joined Quantico, or you joined the FBI, and you go to Quantico, and was that like the change of speed that you were looking for?
Yes and no. It was really, at that time, I don't think I fully understood how much the FBI hated the CIA. They hated them. The two agencies would like fight all the time. And so when I got there, I was treated, I don't think I'm allowed to curse here, but I was treated
No, you can curse.
I was treated like shit, like horrific. It was really bad.
Like a rookie again.
It wasn't that. No.
Or was it because you're from the CIA?
That I don't care about, like the whole rookie thing. I'm not like that. I'll do whatever. I'll get coffee. That part doesn't bother me. It was the amount of harassment that I received because I had come from CIA was absolutely insane. And it was totally shocking.
That's crazy. Why? Why do you think that is?
Well, the agencies had been fighting with each other since, like 9/11. But again, that's like not my fault, right? Like, so you can't.
That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard. They should be working together.
You and I both, my friend. Also, I think the fact that, look, again, I'm not going to like sugarcoat it. I am a very feminine person. I get it. Like I have long blonde hair. That's like who I am. And I don't make any bones about it. But I got into Quantico. I passed all my PT tests. I passed all my shooting tests. I served in Afghanistan. And it really bothered them that I still presented very feminine, like a lot. And I am just the kind of person that I'm like, that's a you problem, not a me problem. And I'm not going to change. And so if you don't like it, that's on you.
Yeah, that's not your problem.
Right. But like that
if you're qualified to do the job.
I know.
And you're doing the job, then who cares?
I know, but the FBI just settled in September of 2024 the largest sexual harassment and gender discrimination lawsuit by any government agency.
So you were dealing with a lot of that too?
That would be an understatement.
Oh.
And it was really disturbing because at CIA, you have to remember, I was the only woman, like literally all the time. I was with SEAL Team 6. Like I had zero issues with the man, woman, sexual harassment, like zero, none, zero, like great. Everything was so good all the time. And so it was just very shocking to get into an environment where it wasn't, and you just assumed that it would, right? Like, why would it be different, right?
So were they treating you like you got where you were because you were sleeping with people? Like that?
My boss, I will tell you this. I don't think I've ever said this on a podcast before.
Ooh, we're getting some.
He told me I'd be a
news.
good agent on my knees under his desk.
What?
Yeah.
Your boss said that to you?
Mm-hmm.
And does he still work there?
He was allowed to retire.
Oh.
I quit, but he was allowed to retire.
This guy, think about the people that get just, who else did he do that to? It wasn't just you.
Oh, you're 100% right. I'm sure he had a reputation. Let's put it that way. But again,
he's allowed to retire. What a dirtbag.
And now we wonder why they had that lawsuit that was just settled, right? I don't think it's surprising. I wasn't part of that, but it's not surprising, right? Like given that there's a culture of that there.
Yeah. I mean, I think that, well, it's crazy because a lot of that was exposed in many different arenas, right? Like all the kinds of companies, you know, from the NFL to the NBA literally every Hollywood just got, I mean, super exposed, you know, which is, you kind of expected it to be that way there. Like it wasn't like a shock, like, oh, shocking.
Yeah, I wasn't shocked about that.
But I am shocked to see it in the FBI. That does shock me, you know, because it is. I would expect to hear like, oh, like a local precinct, like police precinct had some, like in a small town had some shit going like that, but not at like high level FBI. Like that's crazy to me. Like what kind of like that just shows you, I mean, imagine how bad it was 20 years before.
Well, I mean, you have to think about it this way. And again, I'm not like, this isn't a political statement at all, but like they didn't allow women to be special agents until the 70s.
Right.
Like they weren't allowed. And now only like 17% of special agents are women. But here's the thing. Again, I feel like that's not an excuse because at CIA, like I said, I was the only woman so many times and I never had a problem. Right? Like, so what's going on that we're like creating that culture there? Right?
Part of me wants to say it's because, and I don't want to disrespect anybody in the FBI, but part of me is like a lot of people that are doing that job have like a certain mentality.
100%. I agree with you.
And it stems from that, right?
I agree.
Like I don't want to sound like I didn't serve. So I never want to speak out of touch. Like I never served my country, you know, I try to do what I can with like local, you know, elections and stuff like that. Like I do what I can, but when it comes to like these FBI guys, and I just think they get like this, it's like the guy that got bullied in high school or, you know, that's 100%. Just like, it's like he got bullied in high school or he didn't have a lot of friends and girls like kind of treated him, you know, like, you know how it is, like being as a teenage boy in high school and stuff, like then they go into the FBI and they feel like they have power over you.
Yeah.
So they 100%. Like, it's just like, you know, I love the police, but I've had interactions with cops that are like, you know, he's pissed because he couldn't even make the high school football team. So now he's like, I get an opportunity to fuck with this guy,
you know, player.
Like, you know, so they like put me in just for like simple things. They'll always put me in cuffs just because I'm big and I'm aggressive and they don't want to like deal with it. So, but like just the way they talk to me and stuff. So I can't even imagine as a woman, I'm a girl dad. So like that really pisses me off, you know, and I have a 17-year-old that's getting ready to go to college and everything. And it's, you know, and I have a 5-year-old. I'm literally the only guy in my house. So like it's me and a male cat.
My husband is the only dude in the house. Yes.
Yeah, that's it. So like I don't know, to me, like to see women treated that way, it really pisses me off. And I'm sorry you had to go through that. And
it's okay.
You know, kudos on you for pushing through it. Cause I'm sure you're like, it was in Afghanistan. Like, what the fuck have you done, bud?
I think that ended up kind of being my attitude after a while. I was like, fuck it. Like y'all need to, and I think you're right in terms of the attitude, but like at the FBI, you know, I did some really amazing things. Like when I was there, unfortunately, the sexual harassment just became too difficult to like deal with. And it's funny that you mentioned about being girl dad. So my dad, who, you know, he's a Vietnam vet, PhD, 6'4", ex-football player, like a dude. I don't know any other way to like explain that. But he used to take me to the shooting range and we'd go shooting together and like do all those things. And when I told him what my boss had said that one day, he like lost his mind.
I bet he wanted to choke him.
And that's when I knew it was wrong.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, because you get, anything can become normal if you're just around it all the time and nobody tells you.
And
otherwise.
I had let it become normal. Let's put it that way.
You become numb to it, right?
Yeah.
You're just like, yeah, whatever. Like that's so inappropriate to me to say, like, it's disgusting to like talk to like your coworker, somebody that you're, especially if you're a senior to them, like it's disgusting, you know. And
I'm by no means prudish. Like, trust me, I like all the bad, dirty.
Well, that's not locker room talk. That's just disrespectful.
Yes, like locker room talk is completely fine with me. Hello, what do you think we did in Afghanistan? All those places, we were not PC.
You're hanging out with SEAL. If you're hanging out with SEALs, yeah,
we were not PC. And
conversations are not.
Yeah, but this was a different level, like you said. This was.
Yeah, it's disrespectful and it's demeaning and all that. It's pure harassment and it should be treated as such. And that guy should lose his entire retirement. Fuck that guy. We don't have to say his name, but fuck that guy.
Yeah, I won't.
Yeah, you'd probably get in trouble for that. Defamation.
Exactly.
Yeah, we don't want to do that.
No.
All right. So how long? So so when you get to the FBI, you go through Quantico. What is that process like? Just walk me through it. Like you're going through it. Like what is like? Is it like a boot camp type of thing? Is it like that?
Yeah. So Quantico's like, it may have changed now. So I can only tell you from like when I was there, it was 17 weeks, right? So was that 4 months? Yeah, 4 months, a little over 4 months. And so you have like different modules of training, if that makes sense. So you pretty much have firearms training like the whole time, right? So it's like 2 weeks in, and then you continue to like work up on that like the whole time. You have PT the whole time, but then you have like these different modules, like you'll have law, right? And so like you are learning all about, like you're being taught by a law professor, right? Like learning all about the law. And then you have forensics. And so you're seeing like autopsy photos, all those things. And then you have situational awareness, which is Hogan's Alley, which is that kind of infamous simulated city that's in Quantico. A lot of people use it for training, but it belongs to the FBI. And so, gosh, they have a laundromat, a school, a church, a trailer park, an apartment complex, and you learn how to operate like within those. There's people who are paid actors, and they're shooting at you with ammunition rounds, and you're learning how to make decisions, right? Like under those situations, or you're learning how to process a crime scene, or you're like, right, like all those kinds of things. So that's kind of how it's situated.
That sounds kind of fun.
I thought it was fun. I enjoyed it.
What was interesting to me is, and what made the most sense to me is the law part, like taking law classes.
Yeah.
Because don't you think that if you're enforcing the law, you should know the law?
Yeah, 1,000,000% yes. And you have to take tests and you have to pass, right? Like you can't just dial it in. So yeah, I loved all of it. I loved the classroom stuff, but I also loved the physical stuff, but I also loved, like, I enjoyed myself at Quantico.
Yeah. I mean, especially because you're still young. You were still really young doing that. I mean, you were what, 26, 27?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, that's super young and you're still like physically active. You still loved it. You probably loved, and you said like your outlet is to go train. I'm the same way. That's my self-medication is to go work out and train. Like that makes me feel better. So
well, for me, it's a little different than most, the physical stuff. So I was born with disability. I was born with something called hypotonia. So I didn't walk until I was 3.
What?
Yeah, I didn't crawl. Like all those
what
things.
Is that though? What is the?
So it's called, this is a horrible name for it, but it's called floppy baby syndrome. So like you can't hold yourself, your muscles don't develop. Like,
okay.
Period. It can be fatal in some people because it'll affect the heart, but it wasn't in me. And so for me, like I work out like a crazy person, but I don't necessarily have the muscle tone that looks like I do, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
because
it does.
I have worked through it to like, that's why I work out so much. So for me, I passed all the PT stuff at the FBI, but I have to train 20 times harder than everyone else.
Yeah.
Whereas like the school stuff, I would just pass no problem and really not study very much because I didn't need to, whereas other people might need to. So I had to, for me, the physical stuff was actually, I don't want to say hard, but so I do not have any fast twitch muscle at all. And so you have to pass a sprint. And that was really, really hard on me, but I can distance run. I can outdistance run people. So it's figuring out my body and what it can and can't do, and like how to pass certain things with certain scores so that I can still get a cumulative score.
That's pretty cool. I mean, that's pretty cool. I mean, I bet a lot of people don't know that about you, that is a huge, to not have any fast twitch muscles.
Yeah.
I mean, from simple things from like pulling your gun fast, you need fast twitch muscles to get down on the ground fast and get back up fast. You need fast twitch muscles. Like it's not just about being able to sprint really fast. Like everything you do needs to be quick. So like to train yourself, I mean, it's incredible. So good job.
Didn't lower the standards.
Great job
for me. I had to pass everyone else.
Yeah, they're not going to make it easy on you.
No,
I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure they didn't. I'm sure they tried to make it even a little harder for you.
I don't know. I never told them I had it. So.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, they probably couldn't tell. I mean,
that was
if you're doing the training and
passing,
then what do they care?
That's
all that matters.
That's how I felt. Like, is if I can pass all this and not tell anyone, then what does it matter? It doesn't matter because
no, it's not a factor.
Yeah,
it's not a factor if you can do it. It's really not. So you get through, you pass all your training. How do you get put into like, how'd you end up in LA? Like,
Yeah, so yeah, basically you pick like you rank 10 offices. Like that's how it works. I knew if you pick LA, San Francisco, New York, Chicago, you'll get it because no one wants to go there because the cost of living is so high. But again, I'm from Southern California. So I was like, okay, I'm going to put LA down, right? Because that's kind of where I'm from, even though I'm from Orange County. And so I thought for sure when I opened that envelope that it would say LA. It did, but I got put in an even smaller office called a resident agency out of Santa Ana, which is in Orange County, which is where I'm from. So I got even luckier. Yeah. So I got even luckier. That was just how that worked out. You don't.
I bet your dad was happy. Your parents probably ecstatic.
Yeah.
So what was your job?
Yeah. So I thought I would be working counterterrorism as a special agent because obviously that's what I worked at CIA. And I couldn't figure out why this office, they typically don't send new agents to resident agencies because they're smaller. They usually go to big offices. And so I couldn't figure out why I was there, but they needed my security clearance from CIA. So I worked the very first Chinese economic espionage case in the US. They had spies here and we caught them and arrested them. And it was a huge deal on what they were stealing. It was pretty awesome.
What were they stealing?
Yeah, so it's you might think it's boring, or your listeners might think it's boring, but they were stealing. It's called quiet electric drive. What it does is it makes submarines and ships quiet. It makes their propellers quiet, so they can't be heard. It's actually really important, and they stole it and used it. And,
that's crazy.
They were shipping it back to China. They had been in the US 28 years. 28 years. We broke into their house. We sent them on a vacation and broke into their house and put listening devices, like all the fun
How'd
things.
You send them on a vacation? Can you tell that?
Yeah, I can. That one's totally declassified. It's been covered by like CNN and the New Yorker and a bunch of places. So we made them think that they won a cruise to Alaska, him and his wife. And so we sent them on a cruise and then we broke into their house. We got what's called a surreptitious entry warrant, where you can break in when someone's not there. And we put in listening devices, videos, all the things. And that's actually not how we caught them. We caught them. So I used to have to do dumpster dives, like go in the back of trash trucks. And we caught them from their trash.
Mm-hmm. Really? What was it? It
was a tasking note from his handler in China telling him what to steal. The idiot.
Wow.
Right? Yeah.
That's real spy shit. Yeah. That's pretty fucking crazy.
Yeah. But then because it was a smaller office, I got to do so much. Like I got to go on like gang arrests and those kinds of things.
What is that? What is a gang arrest?
Gangs. So
I thought you said gank. I was like, what the hell?
No. Gang. So this would have been like MS-13, Mexican Mafia, like those kinds of groups.
Latin Kings, stuff like that.
No, it was mostly MS-13.
Yeah.
And the Mexican Mafia, I'm thinking about like tattoos on people's bodies, and that was mostly what I saw. So
yeah. It's those people, those are the most dangerous. Mm-hmm. And then what's crazy is right now we're dealing with, in Colorado alone, we're dealing with this Tren de Aragua
the Venezuelan
issue. And it's bad. I mean, it's really bad. ICE just raided like a nightclub. They had like a whole nightclub they had taken over and were just like open on the weekends type of deal. And they took 50 of them.
Wow.
50 illegals that were here illegally, gang members. They took 50 of them just in one raid. So how many do you think are actually here?
Well, and that's what I think has actually changed, to be totally honest with you. So when we would go on those raids or arrests, right, of like MS-13 and all of that, we actually would bring ICE with us all the time. I don't think we do that anymore. And maybe I'm wrong, but we for a while hadn't been doing that.
I think the reason why is because the FBI is like working against ICE because they're like the Democrats. When the Democrats were in charge, they were. I don't know what I don't know. This is just what I put together from like seeing what's the reality of what's happening is that the FBI is like, oh well, we don't like ICE because Trump uses ICE, so we are gonna not work with ICE, and we're gonna and like same with the Border Patrol. The Border Patrol's in favor of Trump, and so now the FBI is not working. They can't get any help
That's
right?
so interesting because we never had any issues. Again, we never brought border patrol because that's not in their purview, obviously, right? To like arrest individuals who are here illegally. But this would be in Santa Ana. We would always bring not if they had available an agent for us to bring, right? Because I just remember the jackets would all say ICE, right? Like
Yeah.
it wasn't weird. That was just like normal for us to bring ICE with us. If now, obviously, if they're here legally and are citizens or whatever, then that's for us to deal
Yeah.
with,
You don't
right?
need
Like,
ICE.
clearly, but some weren't, right? And so ICE would then process those, so we don't have to deal with it. And it's just easier, to be totally honest with you, is something I don't have to deal with because
Oh, imagine that working together.
I don't know. It was just easy
Because it makes sense and it makes things easier and less paperwork from one side and the other side gets to do their job and you can do your job. It's just insane. The bureaucracy doesn't want agencies working together.
It's weird to me.
And it shouldn't be political. It should not. It should be bipartisan across the board. And it's all about protecting America. Like protecting America, protecting Americans is what should be important.
That's how I view it. So you and I are in agreement on that.
Did you ever deal with any of that like frustration of like, why are we not working together? Because you worked for the CIA, then you went to the FBI. So like, I feel like a lot of times you guys probably could have helped each other and you guys just wouldn't.
Listen, part of that is the CIA's fault too. I think the blame lies with both of them. I think part of it too is you have to remember when I started working there, FBI, and I'm sorry if this is like too technical, but maybe this helps like people understand the differences. So at CIA, you have a top secret clearance, but you have something called SCI, which is sensitive compartmented information. That's access to human intelligence. At the time, all FBI agents did not have that access. And so CIA actually could not legally share certain information with them. That's annoying as hell. Because we would essentially be breaking the law and go to jail if we shared something from human intelligence with them. Now, years later, that was changed, and most agents now have an SCI clearance to like share information better. But for a long time, it wasn't like that, and I think that's really bad. Quite.
I mean, it handcuffs somebody. I mean, you could save lives,
100%,
and time and money and. I mean, countless resources. If you just shared, if it's like, oh, this one piece of information, if I had, that would have put the whole puzzle together for him for the investigation, and they didn't have it. And I don't know, that would have frustrated the hell out of me. And I'm sure that you dealt with that.
It's definitely frustrating.
Extremely frustrating. But you had both clearances though, right? So did that like give you an advantage?
No, I think for me, the reason I was put in, the office I was and doing the work that I did, was because I had that clearance from CIA, but now more and more agents have it, so it's not as weird or different anymore.
Yeah, but at that time it was rare, probably, right?
I mean, yes.
Especially for your age, like I could understand, like, but you were still an officer. You were like a senior officer when you left, right?
Left the agency, yes.
Yeah, right. And you had highly decorated.
Yeah.
Can you talk about, I know it's probably if you're like me, you don't like to talk about yourself, but can you talk about the awards that you were awarded, that you earned?
Yeah. I mean, I guess I never do. They're all in my little closet. Like,
yeah.
I have a counterterrorism medal. That one's really cool that they have someone loaned theirs to the Spy Museum, actually. Because it has like the Twin Towers on it and all of that. It's really a cool award. I have a couple of targeting awards. I have like 7 or 8 exceptional performance awards, a couple special activity awards.
I mean, it's badass. It's awesome because you literally were like the best at your job. I mean,
no, I definitely was not the best. There were
but you excelled. You excelled and you kicked ass, and
well, thank you.
That's like, to be recognized for that is just awesome, and I'm glad that you were afforded that recognition. You know what I mean? Because it's probably. Because I mean, a lot of people they probably don't get any recognition for what they're doing,
and they've done way more impactful and incredible things than I have.
Well, you did a lot of impactful. I mean, come on.
Thank you.
I love the humbleness, but come on. You're an ass kicker and you kicked a lot of ass. So.
Thank you.
And you were working. It was weapons of mass destruction was like your specialty,
at CIA,
right?
Yes. Poisons and toxins.
Right. And that's, I mean, think about how many lives you probably saved. I mean,
I never look at myself that way.
I mean, think about that. I mean, biological warfare. I mean, that is terrible. That's awful way to go. Right. To like have some mustard gas thrown into your village, like, and you're just some goat farmer, like trying to get by, and they just toss, they're just tossing gas into your village. Like that's, I mean, think about how many times you stop that from happening. You might not see it directly because you don't know, but like your work stopped that kind of thing, so good on you. Congratulations.
Thank you.
I think it's badass and it's needed. It's funny. I talk to a lot of guys from the special forces guys, and they always tell me like, listen, the best intel comes from women. Like they will find out
We're good
everything.
We can find out anything.
They will find it all out. They give you all the information. It's insane, and it's just like
listening.
Yeah, you guys are great at that's like if I was running the CIA, all of my intelligence officers would be women because they will find out everything. And that's what they're good at. I mean, I'm not like trying to put you guys in a box, but I'm saying like, I know my wife, when I can't figure something out, she like can deep dives it. And like 20 minutes later, I have like literally this person's entire background. And I'm like,
we're really good at that kind of stuff.
I'm like, how did you figure all this out already? She's like, oh, I just found them on Instagram and then found out where they work. And then I'm like, what?
Well, and the head of Mossad wrote an article not that long ago about how women make better spies.
Way better.
Because of certain skills, that we have. But yes.
It's funny. I talked about this with, this is totally off subject. You're from California, so you probably didn't do a lot of hunting or any of that.
No, I didn't.
But one of my good friends was on the podcast. His name is Josh Bomar, and his wife is Sarah Bomar. She's the most accomplished female bow hunter of all time. Oh, cool. She was a vegan when they met. And he said it's so frustrating because it's like
hilarious.
It's something about the animals. Like whenever I know from my personal experience that like when I get within like 100 yards of an animal, it's like their spidey senses go up. Like they just can sense that like something is around. Like I'm not making any sound. The wind's perfect. Everything's perfect. But like this deer is still acting weird. But then like women, when they go into those situations, it's like they don't put off that same aura that a man does. So like everybody's calm, and he talks about how she's able to get in so close to these animals because like she just doesn't put off that, like, I don't know if it's like a predator vibe. I guess. I don't know, like this alpha predator vibe. That's that like, funny. Men have like the masculinity or whatever. Like it's something that's calming, I guess. Mm-hmm. But I think that's really cool. So maybe I think that's like a huge advantage that women have. Especially like it's easier, especially in like the Middle East, right? So like the men over there disrespect women so much that like they'll never view you as a threat, right? So they're like, oh, she's not a threat because she's a woman, right? Did they think of it that way, or was it like different than that? I'm just like spitballing stuff here because like I just can imagine.
I never had actually too much disrespect from the men, to be honest with you. I really didn't. Only one time, and they really hated our station chief at that particular country. And so I think it was more about just hating our station chief, and so it gave me a hard time than like me being a female, if that makes any sense.
Oh, okay.
But no, I personally actually never had too many issues.
Well, that's great. It's crazy how the only issue you had was when you got to the FBI.
It was more the FBI. Like we would arrest people and they would always put them in the back of my car because they were stupid enough to think that I was stupid, and they would just talk.
Oh. So you would use that, like, would you just like ask questions or?
They'd been Mirandized.
But would you just ask them random questions and they would answer? And so that's genius. That's really smart.
I have no problem with that. If you're going to be that stupid, go ahead.
Yeah. If you're that dumb, keep talking. Cause did you guys have like body cam stuff then? Like, were you able to like record?
No. Mm-mm.
Okay. Were you able to record any of that?
Yeah, I recorded.
Oh, okay. So you just like, it's always recording once you get something back there. Mm-hmm. So they're just like giving up all kinds of, and that's see what I'm saying? Like it makes you feel safe. Like they feel like they can vent to you, and now they're venting and giving up. I'm sure they regretted that later. So you, what was like, can you give me like an example, like when you're in the FBI where like the most intense, like a raid, like you're about to take somebody down or take a group down and it was like really intense?
I wouldn't say it was like intense, but we did a lot of work, especially where I was. And I hope it doesn't sound like I'm like profiling anyone, but with Asian gangs. And they're extremely violent.
Yeah.
More so sometimes than the Mexican mafia. And so,
like the Yakuza? Or is that just something made up in TV? I don't know. Because I don't know. Like I said,
this would have been more triad. This would have been like the triads.
The triad.
They're just incredibly violent. And so I think there was a time where we had to raid a particular house because there was other stuff going on there too. They were also engaging in healthcare fraud, which was weird. And so, yes, that one was a little bit, because what had happened is there actually wasn't very many of us because we thought that there were only 3 people there. But there were over 40 people living in the houses in these different closets within the house and all of that. And so I think we felt like we could become overwhelmed like very, very quickly. And we like ran out of handcuffs. I mean, it just wasn't like a good situation.
Is that sketchy?
Yes.
So it's like 6 of you?
I can't remember now that I'm trying to think.
Not enough to be taken on 40.
No, because usually if we were going to take down a gang, right, we would bring the trailer with us. We would bring like all of those things with us. And I'm not thinking that we thought that day that that's what we were going to be taking down, if that makes sense.
Yeah. So did you find like guns and weapons and all types of shit everywhere? Or?
No, it was a lot. I would not say it was guns. It was a lot of knives.
Knives, right? They fight with knives.
Mm-hmm. Lots of knives. I remember that.
Machetes and shit, right?
Lots of children, which is obviously disturbing. Yeah.
Did you work any human trafficking? Did you run into any human trafficking
I did
issues?
not do human trafficking. That was mostly done out of our LA office.
Okay.
Not our office. We didn't really have an instance of it in Orange County. It was mostly in LA, at the ports and things like that. So they more ran that.
Okay. So you left the FBI. What were you like? You're still not, are you even 30 yet?
I don't think so. I think I was 29.
That's insane. That what you did before the age of 30 years old. That's insane. I mean, that's like a lifetime of experience.
21. Yeah.
That's a lifetime of experience in a decade. You know,
I guess so. I didn't think about it that way.
It is. I mean, think about it. So what did you, so was there like a final straw?
It was that comment my boss made was.
Oh, really? Okay. Mm-hmm. So that was just like.
So the problem was I went to report it because I think my dad was like, you need to like do something about this.
Yeah, so this can't be allowed.
And the FBI had really no way to report it. Their solution was to move me to an office 3 hours away and not pay me moving fees.
What?
And so
that's the solution?
Sometimes I regret, like, I should have stayed and fought, but I think I was like done. I think by that point.
I understand that. My wife had a similar situation at an ad agency.
I'm so sorry.
And she just was like, just done. Yeah, it was the same thing. She just was like, and she could have, because you're in for a long fight, long legal battle, and it gets ugly and you got to relive all of it. You know what I mean? So she just like it was the same thing. She was just done. So she just was like, I'll just move. I'm getting out of here and I'm going to do something else.
I just felt bad knowing that it then continued to happen, right? So much more that like there was that lawsuit that was settled. Like I feel responsible because I didn't do more, like it's just.
No, I get it. Yeah, I get it. Yeah. It's like almost like a survivor's remorse type of thing where you're like, I could have stopped it from happening, and I get it. But yeah, at the time I understand, like you're going to do what's best. You have to do what's best for your mental health,
right.
And fighting a legal battle against the FBI is probably not that. It's probably not what's best for your mental health. I'm just saying.
Not at that time. No.
Yeah. Not at that time. Nowadays it's totally different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, now it's like they're going to have this guy, that he's going to get tarred and feathered.
It's fine.
Yeah, which he deserves.
Yes.
So it's a whole different world we live in. So that happens, you go to report it and they decide to, oh, well, you're the problem. We're going to move you. Then that's bullshit. Total bullshit. I'm sorry. And on behalf of all men, like that's fucking bullshit.
Not all men behave that way.
I know. Hello. That's why it's like,
I have a dad
but it's the same thing. It's the few give the many a bad name. It's just like anything.
I don't hold all men responsible for that because they don't all act that way.
Right. Well, you have a good father and everything too.
Yes.
You know what I mean? So it's like, how a man is supposed to behave and show respect.
Yeah.
So you decide like, you know what, I'm done. So you just said F it. And what'd you go do then?
I became a high school history teacher.
So that's insane. It all came back. And were you working at a high school in where you grew up?
So I worked at the very same high school that I went to.
That's awesome.
With the very same teacher who inspired me to become a high school history teacher.
So are you teaching 9 through 12? Like
I don't teach. And now I'm an adjunct professor of criminal justice.
I'm talking about before.
Oh, then
when you first started working there, were you teaching like the whole high school?
I taught U.S. history. And then when we moved to Dallas, I started teaching at an all-girls school. And it was there that I realized I could kind of make my own curriculum. And I actually made a course on national security and foreign policy just for girls.
So you wrote the entire curriculum. I bet that was fun. So it's crazy. You did all of that and you ended up getting to do what you really, truly, your passion was really teaching.
Yeah.
And is it everything you thought it would be?
It was. I stopped teaching high school 5 years ago. Yeah, 5 years ago. And now I'm the national security contributor at News Nation. So I'm on air for them all the time. And I'm an adjunct at TCU.
What's an adjunct? What is that? What does that mean?
Part-time professor of criminal justice.
Oh, okay.
At Texas Christian University.
Well, I was a criminal justice major at Cincinnati, so.
Oh, okay. You would have taken my class then, probably.
Yeah, I was like I said, I love learning about the law. I love the history, and it's like I said, if football didn't work out, I was going to the Navy SEALs. Like that's what I was gonna do, So and then probably the FBI or whatever led me whatever afterwards. Intelligence. That's what I want. I wanted to do cool stuff. Like that's remarkable things. I guess is what I wanted to do, and then football just ended up working out. So
that's pretty awesome too.
I would say I got to take the easy road. I just got lucky. I worked my ass off and it worked out. So just like it did for you.
Hey everybody, this episode is brought to you by Black Buffalo. Black Buffalo's nicotine pouches do not contain tobacco leaf or stem. What they do contain is a ton of flavor, and they're packed with pharmaceutical grade nicotine. The magic of Black Buffalo is they discovered a way to make cured edible green leaves behave like the texture of tobacco. And they add food grade ingredients for industry classic flavors. You're in good company if you roam with the Black Buffalo herd. The business was built by dippers with decades of smokeless tobacco use. They manufacture their tobacco alternatives with respect for those products that came before them. Bold flavors, full pouches, metal lids, and a brand that stands for something, American. Their products are also proudly endorsed by brand ambassadors such as MMA Hall of Famer, Cowboy Cerrone, NASCAR champion, Brian Blaney, rising country star, Larry Fleet, and Rob O'Neill, former U.S. Navy SEAL Team 6. So if you're 21 and older and you consume nicotine or tobacco and you want to join the Black Buffalo herd, head over to blackbuffalo.com to learn more. You can order nicotine pouches online and they ship directly to most states. Or you can check out their store locator to purchase pouches at thousands of retail locations around the country. Black Buffalo, an American brand, pouches worth respect.
Let's go back to your teaching, right? So you're teaching in high school. How long did you teach?
10 years.
So like you teach for a decade. I bet your class was awesome to take because I bet they wanted to hear more about your story. Did you keep it a secret from them?
It's changed. It's so interesting. Is it okay if I don't want to be political, but is it okay if I just say something that happened recently that definitely was upsetting, I think. So I taught that class. It was wildly popular, and I had a lot of students that went into national security careers, which obviously is really, really cool. But I was on News Nation. I do national security for them. I do a little bit of crime as well. And it was after the assassination of the United Healthcare CEO. They had asked me whether or not, they should have protection, those kinds of like very basic, nothing controversial. And I had talked about how, yeah, I felt like that they should, and like we don't take matters into our own hands and assassinate people, like those kinds of things, nothing controversial. And I had a former student who on Twitter or X or whatever the heck we want to call it now, said, hey, Mrs. Walder, he's only killed one person. You are a baby killer and have killed so many people in Afghanistan and in your job, and you brainwashed minds, when I had you as a teacher. And I received over 10,000 death threats that day. I had to pull my daughter out of school and hire private security
Oh my
because
goodness.
it got over 6 million views.
We live in a civilized nation. We are civilized people. You don't just go around killing. I don't care.
It made me really sad.
Disgusting.
Because it basically went to show me that like my service probably doesn't mean a whole lot. It's obviously more controversial than what I thought. I didn't.
Yeah, but it's also because you got to think these kids they are fucked.
He's 28 now.
So he was 28 when he said that?
Yeah.
She?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, but think about it. These kids are so fucked. They are. They're so fucked. They're literally like they have the access to nonstop news.
Yeah.
Over and over and over again. And that assassination was just everywhere, and people were trying to justify it and say it was, and it doesn't matter. Like we live in a world where like law is we live by a set of rules, and we don't just murder people on the streets.
Yes.
But these kids have now they have these groups of kids that are like, oh, these healthcare CEOs, and they are scumbags. Like the healthcare system is all completely screwed, right?
It's totally screwed.
Murdering people is not the way to fix it.
No.
That's not going to do, it does nothing.
No.
That literally did nothing.
Mm-mm.
Now they're just going to hire somebody else for that job, and he's going to do the same shit, or he or she is going to do the same job. Like they're not going to be like, oh, we better change. You know why? Because they got to make a bottom line. So they don't care. That's why it's like, it's silly to think that you're going to make a difference by just going out and murdering somebody that is literally high. Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand why I'm sorry that happened to you, because at the end of the day, your kids are the ones who pay the price. It's, cause they get pulled out of school. They're scared. They don't know what's going on. How old are your kids?
She's 9.
Yeah. So she's probably terrified. Like has no clue what's going on.
No. Yeah.
Like she doesn't understand any of that at 9 years old. They shouldn't have to. So I'm sorry that happened to you. So
I just
so that's what
my service like weaponized like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Well, you did all of that work. You did all of that work, and you did it for the right reasons. And then you could have just kept doing it, and instead you came back and you decided to teach and share knowledge with people. And now you're being demonized. I don't. You just don't come off as the type of person to indoctrinate somebody. I'm sorry. Like I don't know you. I don't know you well, but we've been talking for an hour now, and I don't seem like
I am not interested in indoctrinating anyone.
Yeah, you don't seem like the brainwashing type. No. So, and that's the problem with social media, is that one person can start they could start a fire, that never had to happen and shouldn't have happened. And now you're being attacked by over 10,000 people threatening your life that don't even know you or know anything about you. They're just like, oh, this person doesn't like him, so I don't like him either.
Very weird.
And that's where Scott Mann was talking about this, about how they've created this digital tribe.
Yeah.
With social media, where you get these digital tribes,
mm-hmm.
and it's not real life. It's not real. There's no accountability because there are no consequences.
And then when there are consequences, like this woman had a consequence for her actions, they can't deal with them.
No.
because they don't have like this.
What ended up happening with that? Did you like, I mean, you
I
had to.
reported her to the police. And the best part was, instead of her calling the police, her parents called the police and said that she was just too busy studying for exams.
What? If she's so busy, then why is she writing tweets threatening my life?
Also, like, let me ask you this question. Would your parents seriously like go in your place to the police station, or would they haul your ass down there or just say, you're on your own, dude? Like,
yeah, you're on your own at 28 years old. Are you kidding me? Liz, I've been on my own since I was 14. All right.
Yeah.
Like, and there was nobody coming. There's nobody taking me anywhere. I was taking myself.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. Like, mine would have been like, this seems like a you problem.
Why are you still taking exams at 28 years old?
I don't know. She might be in like a PhD program, or I really don't care or know.
It doesn't matter. You got to show up. That just shows you how fucked we are. Oh. We are. I mean, like, you're 28 years old and you're like, send your parents down there. I mean, and it's their fault. It's their fault because they enable their child to act that way.
I agree.
It's that simple. They're the brainwashers. They've brainwashed them into thinking they can just do whatever they want. There's no consequence. And don't worry, mom and dad will save you.
Yeah.
That's unbelievable to me. All right. So that happens. That's crazy. That's insane. Because you're teaching and you're doing News Nation, right?
Yeah. So I teach part-time this at TCU, and then I do News Nation, and then I also speak. I'm
talking about the time when when the threats started coming in. Is that what you were doing?
Oh, that just happened last month.
Right. But I was just saying you didn't quit doing anything, right? You didn't. Okay.
No.
I'm sorry. I'm just making sure that you didn't let that affect what you were doing.
No. No.
God, it's so crazy to me. I just can't believe that like people are so naive. Anyways, so you're doing News Nation, you're doing TCU, like basically like, do they just bring you in for like certain?
No, I teach intro to criminal justice twice a week.
Oh, okay, cool. Mm-hmm. Is it like a long lecture class or? It's
like an hour and 20 twice a week.
Oh, that's not bad.
Yeah.
It's like fine. A Tuesday, Thursday class.
Yep, exactly.
Yep.
Go Frogs.
Yep. It's funny. My oldest just got accepted into UT, so.
Oh, awesome! Congratulations.
So she's super excited. That was her number one
rival
school.
Of ours.
Fired. I know, she's fired up. She's got all the hook 'em horns everywhere.
Oh no.
Yeah, so she's because we took her to Austin to visit campus and everything, and she just was like, because I love Texas. Like, I love going down there. I got a lot of friends there, and I love spending time down there. So we took her to campus to see it, and she was like, "Oh my God." And I was like, well, it's a 3 to 5% chance to get accepted. And she got direct admission into the business school.
That's amazing. So, good for her.
Yeah, thank you. Super proud of her. She busted her ass. She didn't want to play sports. She wanted to focus on like DECA and FBLA future, which I was like, what is FBLA? When she told me, I was like, we had FFA.
That's right. FFA.
Yeah, we didn't have FBLA. I don't even know what that is. It's Future amazing. Business Leaders of America. And like, so, but they make it like it's like a real sport. Like it takes a lot of time and a lot of dedication. And she started her own nonprofit while she was in high school. Like unbelievable.
You and your wife have clearly done an excellent job.
Well, more my wife. I'm just a dumb football player most of the time. Like I just have she tries to talk to me about like because my wife has a biology degree. So she's she's a brainiac too, and I'm just like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. And me and the 5-year-old go read Llama Llama, Red Pajama, like we don't, that's kind of like that's my speed. We'll work on simple math. Okay. And perfect. Simple reading. You can do all the algebra and the calculus, and I'm good at statistics, but for the most part, I was a terrible student in high school. Like I said, if it wasn't history or like something I was super interested in, I was terrible at it. Because I couldn't focus on it. I was thinking about other things. Okay, so what's next? So when did you write your book?
5 years ago. It came out in February 2020. Mm-hmm.
Okay, what's the name of that?
The Unexpected Spy.
Okay, I'm just saying that because like they're gonna put the link.
Yeah, and then I also have my Unexpected Spy Instagram account, and then TikTok, which is. I do like news on there too. Try to be.
Oh, that's cool. I'm going to follow you. Hold on. I'm going to do it right now.
Go ahead.
Hold on. What'd you say it was on Instagram?
The Unexpected Spy.
Oh, nice.
And I just filmed a show for the Discovery Channel that came out in October.
I bet your dad's so proud of you. I mean, he has to be, because think about it. You're just still kicking ass. Like a lot of people, because think about it. You could have decided, you know what, I'm just going to go into teaching, and then you'd still be just teaching history and going through the motions every year, you know?
Yeah, I love it. I've started doing more TV. So I did that show for the Discovery Channel that came out in October. I filmed
What's that called?
It's called Lost Monster Files. We filmed that all summer in like Alaska and the backwoods of we went to the Ozarks and Arkansas and Allegheny Mountain. Like that was fun.
What do you look at? Monsters? What kind of monsters?
They were looking for, oh my God, I'm trying to think what we did. We did the chupacabra, we did the thunderbird, we did Alaskan sea monster, we did it was fun.
How did you get into that?
I don't know. They emailed me.
And you're like, sure.
And so I did that. And I do things for like the History Channel and, other channels too.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's awesome. Well, I mean, I wish you nothing but more success, because you're kicking ass and you have kicked ass, and it's been an honor, and I really appreciate the time.
Well, thanks so much for having me. This was a really fun conversation. I really enjoyed it. So thank you.
Yeah, me too. Thank you so much. All right. Thanks for listening to the Wolf Untamed podcast. Be sure to check me out on Instagram, DerekWolf_95. Check out the Wolf Untamed podcast on YouTube. You can listen on all the other platforms, as well as DerekWolf.com.